Good morning to everybody, especially our Lord and Savior, Trevor Lawrence. The road to the Super Bowl officially runs through Jacksonville, Florida. Whether you like it or not. Duval!
Yeah.
Anywho, even Jeff Ulrich texted me yesterday and says, yo, I would vote for Doug Peterson as president. And I'm like, well, Jeff, I don't know how that's going to work because, like, you're in Canada. And, like,
vote.
I'm kind of down here
That's
chilling in the States.
By the way, he's Emerson Latzia. I'm Jesse Cofield. You're watching The Sweat. That's Jeff Ulrich that we're talking about. Pierce Dietrich is here as well.
Meow.
Coming up on the show, 9-game NBA slate, 8 games in the NHL and college football. But first, let's overreact to what went down in the NFL yesterday as if we aren't already doing that. Let's start in Vegas, okay?
Oh, my God.
Just an absolutely insane finish to the Patriots-Raiders game. Like, you have to see it to believe it.
Yeah, it's true. I was watching this with Samir, who's behind the camera here, and we're screaming like little children at a bar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is the most insane / hilarious / dumbest finish I've ever seen in a football game.
Yeah, I mean, Jacoby Myers basically just hands Chandler Jones an early Christmas present there.
F it, Mac Jones is down there somewhere.
Mac Jones got stiff-armed into the turf. He'll never recover from that. This might not even be an overreaction, Jeff. Like, is that the most unbelievable finish of all time? We were talking about it's just blown everything out of the water for us.
So, 2003, the New Orleans Saints went into Jacksonville, Florida, and they were down 7 points with 7 seconds left. Aaron Brooks completed a pass. The Saints lateraled it 4 times to score a touchdown, and then John Carney missed the extra point from the 7-yard line or wherever they used to take it. So I would still rate that as slightly more crazy than what we saw yesterday. But yeah, all things considered, the Patriots in the playoff hunt. Myers just acting like they're like a 3-11 team, and it's like, there's nothing on the line here. It's definitely up there. If it's not in front of that Saints finish from way back when, it's like very neck and neck. So yeah, it's something you don't see every day. Like I said, the circumstances of it is what really is shocking. The Patriots basically the season on the line here, and Jacoby Myers just chucking Hail Mary passes towards his end zone like they're 3-11.
Yeah, Pierce, he said in his post-game presser, he was like, yeah, I was out there trying to play hero ball. Like, that was hero
like
ball?
Me every day on this show, hero ball. I mean, that's what I'm all about.
Yeah, I think Patriot fans would love to blame this on Matt Patricia like it was dialed up, but the players have said, like, Ramondre Stevenson's taking a little bit of blame because it was almost like a virus or a contagion. As soon as Stevenson pitches the ball, you can almost see it inside Myers' head, like, oh, is that what we're doing? Oh, we're pitching the ball now. And so he just wings it. He would have never, I don't think Myers would have ever initiated a bunch of pitches, but he got the pitch like, oh, okay, well, we're going to do this thing. And it didn't work out very well for them. But making this thing even crazier is just the whole series that led up to this. The Raiders had several chances to score. They didn't do it. You had the big Ramondre Stevenson run that looked like it put it on ice. The Patriots had the ball with like 2 minutes left. All they had to do was convert a first down, and none of this happened. They don't do it. They held the Raiders to 58 yards in the second half, and then unsurprisingly, they slide into prevent mode, and they really wait until 4th and 10, and then they go into prevent and allow them to convert a 4th and 10 pass. And they allow them to complete another one, and then they're playing prevent, but they're not because they allow a 40-yard fade. I don't know where the safeties are. Of course, the guy didn't actually catch the ball. He went out of bounds, but yeah, there's so many things that happened that were crazy before the Myers situation.
And what were the Raiders doing on that play? The Raiders almost let Stevenson run for a touchdown. Yeah. That's the other thing. I mean, he was one tackle away from going all the way. This is Ramondre Stevenson out there like a freight train, and the Raiders just like, yeah, sure, just here you go. And they finally decided to tackle him just in the nick of time, and then, chaos ensued. But I don't know. The NFL, you got to love it.
Yeah, you definitely have to love it. You definitely have to love what the Jaguars did yesterday against the Cowboys, winning in overtime. So the Jags keeping their playoff hopes alive, which, by the way, people, up on plus 125 on the DK Sportsbook for the Jags to win the AFC South right meow. The AFC South, a division Dallas just cannot handle for whatever reasons.
Yeah.
The Cowboys will not win a playoff game. Overreaction or reality, Pierce?
That is an overreaction, but they have been exposed a little bit. Their offense is fine. Sure, Dak should cut down on the mistakes, but I don't think anyone expects Dak to be perfect. In that last play, I hardly blame him too much. That was a really excellent execution on a lot of parts by Jacksonville. Either way, Dallas's offense, they're looking good, but the problem is the defense. What Doug Peterson exposed by spreading people out, running a lot of motion, getting a lot of mismatches. Dallas runs a lot of man-to-man. They got a great pass rush, but they also run a lot of man-to-man. And if you have competent, capable receivers like Jacksonville does that can get separation, especially against linebackers, Jacksonville's just beating them time after time on man-to-man coverages. And I think they're going to run into some trouble in the playoffs. They'll probably make their way to the playoffs, probably get a bye. But the Doug Peterson game plan is exactly how you beat the Cowboys. And, if Jacksonville would have had a just halfway decent first half, then this game wouldn't even have been close.
Yeah, I mean, this was the first week in NFL history in which 3 teams completed comeback victories of 17-plus points, all of which have altered the playoff races, including this game here, Jeff. Can the Cowboys win a playoff game in a month with the way that they are playing football right now?
I mean, the Cowboys are a reflection, as most teams are, they're a reflection of their head coach. And the Mike McCarthy Dallas Cowboys are starting to remind me a lot of the Green Bay Packers Mike McCarthy. Yes, the offense can get there because you got an elite quarterback, you've got elite players, but this defense, it can get exposed, and it's been getting exposed for the last little bit. I talked about the spot for Christian Kirk and like Zay Jones on Sunday, and this secondary has been getting exposed. They've allowed the 7th most receiving yards up to over the last 3 weeks prior to that game. Pierce is dead on. Like Doug Peterson took full advantage of it and exposed this team in a lot of different ways. Now the offense is there. That's the thing. I mean, like they can win shootouts. They could have won that game. They could have won that game against Green Bay in overtime as well. So will it? I don't think the Cowboys are a team where will it shock me if they go one and done? No. Will it shock me if they win a couple games and get on a roll here? No. But I think that eventually the defense will catch up with them. I think like San Francisco will expose them eventually if it's in the title game, or the Eagles. But the Cowboys are a very solid team. They're in the weaker conference as well. So a team with a lot of volatility, but their defense is it's headed in the wrong direction right now. And unless something really drastically changes, they'd be my pick for like the upset victim in terms of the top 3 elite teams in the NFC right now.
Jeff, the Jags will win the AFC South. Overreaction or not?
It's really not.
Thank you.
I think that, and like a lot of this, I'm going to try and be rational though. I mean, a lot of this does come down to schedule. I mean, both teams play the Texans, but and then obviously we have the head up meeting week 18, which I mean, or it's week 19 now, I guess, or whatever it is. But like the Jags play the Jets, and the Titans have to beat the Cowboys. And yeah, like the Cowboys have struggled against the AFC South, but that is a much tougher game. I think that, when it all comes down to it, the Jags, all they got to do is just hold course over the next couple weeks and just get to that game, because they'll have the tiebreaker in hand with, already having won the first game. So, give me the Jags here. I like their coach. I think that this will be very close, and it'll probably come down to a close game, but it'll be in Duval. It'll be in the final week. So, I'm going to take the Jags here. Why not?
All right, speaking of Jacksonville's playoff hopes.
What do we got?
Here we go. Let's talk AFC playoffs. Okay?
All right.
It's a mess.
Really
the teams in now are all like at least a game up in their spots, whether it's like Miami and LA in the wild card or Tennessee in the South. So do you think, Pierce, this will be the final 7 teams come playoff time?
I don't. I hope it's not. I am kind of disappointed that they've expanded the playoffs. I think we get some mediocre teams for the second year in a row in the playoffs. That's kind of watered down the product. I'm probably the only one. Everybody wants more football. I want less, but hey, whatever. So if that's the case, and I'm going to be a curmudgeon, then I'm going to root for burning the whole thing down. If this is the way it's going to be, and we're going to get mediocre teams or average teams, then let's just put in the most average and mediocre of them all. I want the Browns in the playoffs. I want the Steelers in the playoffs. And best of all, I want the Jacksonville Jaguars in the playoffs.
Yeah!
And hopefully we get another 2018 Jacksonville Bork coin type of run. The way that they played yesterday, they could beat anyone in the playoffs, anywhere. Why not burn it down?
Jeff, still 5 playoff berths available in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, look, Pierce is. if you're gonna get all curmudgeon up about the NFC, not the AFC. Okay, we've got 1 week division in the AFC South, but as you just mentioned, I mean, Like, the Jaguars are a well-coached team. And look, the Titans have Mike Vrabel. The Titans have pulled out plenty of playoff upsets over Mike Vrabel's tenure. So this isn't the conference where you should be speaking about there's a bunch of weak teams. I mean, I think the Ravens,
Jets, Patriots, what are we doing?
The Jets and Patriots aren't in a playoff position anymore, Pierce. The Dolphins right now are in the last playoff position. The Dolphins are everyone's kind of fan favorite. They just put up a really good fight against the Bills. So I think that the team that's really like holding things up is the Ravens in the AFC, but they're starting to drop down. I don't think there's many weak spots here. The AFC winner, I don't think the Jags have the defense to necessarily hold up for a long playoff run, but everyone else here, the Chargers certainly could. The Dolphins we know are good. The Bengals are just out of their minds right now, the way they're playing. Yeah. So there's a lot of good teams in the AFC. This is not the division to pick on and ask for fewer playoff spots. If anything, let's get the Steelers in there. They just went on the road against Carolina. Why not?
Dude, the number one overall seed in the AFC is still there for the Bengals too, for the taking. Absolutely. They clash with Buffalo in like 2 weeks. So you knock them off, depending on what the hell happens to the Chiefs here, who are struggling to beat the Texans. Anywho, so you mentioned 5 playoff berths still available in the AFC.
Yep.
There's 3 still available in the NFC side of things. So the Giants and the Commanders are in the hunt. Currently 6 and 7. Giants got the win over Washington last night. But both of Pierce's teams are right there at 7 and 7 as I'm looking at the playoff picture. The Seahawks, and the Lions here. The Lions are going to make the playoffs. Overreaction or reality, and why is it a reality, Pierce?
First of all, just let people know that the strategy is pick a bunch of bad teams at the beginning of the year, and if they fail, no one faults you for it because they were bad teams. But then if they actually go 500 and win, you look like a genius. So,
dude, your Lions are actually a
process of picking these guys. Look, hey, the Lions are no longer just practically a 500 team. They are a 500 team. They've won 6 of their last 7. They're going in the right direction. Their defense is steadily improving. The offense, we know what they're capable of. And you look at the schedule that they have for the rest of the season, definitely winnable games. They got a home game against Chicago. Unless Justin Fields, even when Justin Fields is amazing, he still can't seem to win games. They close out the season at Green Bay. We don't know what shape Green Bay is going to be in, if they're going to be playing anybody or resting people. Very winnable schedule for Detroit. I'm not as bullish anymore on Seattle, but I'm not going to be a coward and pull out now. So we'll let hopefully Seattle makes it as well. And all of my teams make the playoffs and then lose in the first round.
Yeah, nice. It doesn't matter, man. We're talking just make the playoffs. Doesn't matter what you do when you get there. Jeff, Detroit, a playoff team, yes or no?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Everything is broken in the Lions' way here perfectly, too. I think that Washington really needed to win that game last night. They have the tougher schedule. Washington plays the 49ers, the Browns, whose defense has been really good in 2 of the last 3 games, by the way. And Deshaun Watson obviously getting better as the games go on. And then the Cowboys in the last week, and the Cowboys could be playing for playoff positioning. This is not a good outlook here for the Washington Commanders. So Pierce already went over the Lions schedule, but like the Giants could lose out. It wouldn't shock anyone. They got the Vikings, the Colts, and the Eagles here. So, both teams, the Commanders and Giants, going to be underdogs next week. You've got the Lions favored on the road. We could have the Lions in a playoff spot here as early as like next week. I'm unfortunately for the Seahawks, I just don't see it. I mean, Geno Smith playing well, but like they got the Rams the last week. They got the Jets on the schedule as well. Winnable games, but I don't know, man. I got this feeling the Lions may just win out here. I mean, the Green Bay last week going to be really interesting. Jared Goff in the freezing cold, Lambeau, they might need that game. So lots of drama here with the Lions shaping up. And really, I think the schedule is in their favor right now.
Oh, speaking of Lambeau.
Monday Night Football. The Rams leaving the cozy confines of Los Angeles.
Oh, that's right.
To take on the Green Bay Packers. Lambeau Field, it's going to be cold, baby. It's going to be real cold. So, keeping that in mind, Jeff, who do you want to put as your captain here?
Remember, who was it yesterday? Do we remember? Right. And has he changed
his? It's a wide receiver.
He's a rookie, and he can't stop scoring touchdowns.
Yes. His name is Christian Watson.
There he is.
Let's break this matchup down. Christian Watson. Okay, so Where did he go to school? North Dakota State.
Yep.
Where did he play professional football? The Green Bay Packers. Who's used to the cold here? It's Christian Watson. Who's not used to the cold? Jalen Ramsey. Played at Florida State, drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Oh, sunny LA. Christian Watson's going to put Jalen Ramsey on the ground in this game. He's probably only going to catch like 4 or 5 balls, but he's probably going to go for 125 yards here. I really like this spot. Christian Watson going up against the Rams secondary, 6th most fantasy points allowed. They have not been good all season. It's prime time. Aaron Rodgers just wants to show off a little bit. He just wants to show off his new toy. I think Watson's going to have a big game. And again, there's so much mixing and matching here with the running backs on both sides. You got Malcolm Brown, 2 running backs involved on Green Bay. I think you go for the big game with Watson, and you look for him for captain.
All right, Pierce, who do you want to put in the captain spot here?
I'll take Cam Akers. These primetime games have been pretty insufferable this season. There's just not a lot of points. The offenses haven't looked good. And now we've got 2 offenses that haven't really been consistent that are going to roll into this matchup in cold weather. I don't think the pass games are going to be all that effective. I don't mind the Christian Watson finding the end zone. That's all he's going to really need to do to work, and someone's going to score points. I just don't know if you're picking a receiver based on volume, which the Watson play really isn't volume. It's more of scoring the touchdown. It's tough to go with the receiver in terms of just getting the workload. So we're going to get a lot of rushes, and Cam Akers matches up against the worst rush defense in football. Green Bay's been doing this for quite a while. They try to prevent the big plays. They'll give you stuff underneath. And I think, with Baker Mayfield, he's going to learn the playbook a little bit more. He's had time, but they're still going to lean on the running game. You're still going to get goal line carries. I'll take Cam Akers in the spot.
All right, Pierce, this is my favorite question for you every Monday. Your value play for the showdown tonight on Monday Night Football between the Rams and the Packers. How low will you go on the salary board?
I go pretty low, and I'm just going to rip off a Thursday pick from a couple weeks ago with Tutu Atwell.
Oh.
He had a good game, caught 5 of 9 targets. They broke him in. He starts to look like the 2nd-round pick that he was supposed to be. Now, a little background on Atwell. He didn't do anything last year as the rookie, but he had injuries, and then he was behind 2 veteran superstar wide receivers. And then again this year, he's behind superstar wide receivers and an offense that funnels everything to Cooper Kupp. Now we're finally trying to get a real chance of who this guy is, and you saw it. He caught 5 passes, looked decent. I think you get another opportunity. Green Bay hasn't been good against slot receivers. He plays mainly out of the slot. I don't know if he's going to smash the scoreboard. I don't know if he's going to get a lot of volume. But also Green Bay has given up. They're in the bottom 10 in terms of allowing touchdowns to slot receivers. So I think I might steal a touchdown here.
Yeah, averaging 9 DraftKings points per game over his last 4. Not bad for someone's going to cost you only $4,400. Jeff, where are you going for a value play tonight, dude?
Oh, we can get way cheaper.
Yeah.
Tutu Atwell. What's Tutu Atwell at? He's at like $5,000.
Yeah, it's $4,400. $4,400.
Pierce likes to save money like my wife does. I mean,
oh, I wish I had a wife who liked to save money.
No, she really doesn't. That's the whole point. Malcolm Brown, $800. Played over 30% of the snaps last week. Look, when they get in the red zone, I mean, yeah, Cam Akers is there, sure, but I mean, you've seen Sean McVay mix and match running backs here. It would not shock me at all. Malcolm Brown comes in, takes a series in the red zone, falls in the end zone in this game. At the very least, at $800, I think it's more than worth a gamble to do that. Also, when you're looking at the usage, he was kind of their passing down back. I mean, he only played 30% of the snaps, but caught 2 balls as well. Akers really hasn't worked in much in the pass game. I think Brown could just take a little bit bigger share of that. Again, the running backs, that's the one thing. I mean, sure, bullish on Watson for a big game, but that's the Green Bay side. I really think that the Rams are going to be short passing and running back centric. No big plays on that side. So if you're looking for a player there, Malcolm Brown at 800, I think he's very viable tonight.
All right, how about a player prop, Jeff? Take us over to the DK Sportsbook. What do you like here?
So I'm going to give you a couple. I think the conservative route here is to just look at some of these low passing totals and low reception totals and just take an over on one of them. And I think A.J. Dillon at 10.5 receiving yards, it's just too low. I mean, I think Green Bay, at the very least, are going to be dialing up a lot of these screens in this cold weather game, looking to get A.J. Dillon out in space so he can get moving. Going to be really hard to take down. 4 of his last 5 games, he's gone for 10 yards or more and as a receiver. So his usage has been nice the last couple of weeks in a game where the Packers are going to be ahead. I really like this one. I just think the prop is a little too low. But if you want to get a little crazy, again, you can go to the alt lines on Christian Watson here. Plus 75 or more yards, plus 295. I really do like this matchup against Jalen Ramsey. I wasn't just being like a comedian there. 100 yards, plus 650 as well, 100 yards or more, I think Christian Watson isn't in a spot to potentially like break one. This cold weather is just as hard on the cornerbacks as it is on the passing game. Don't forget, Watson's a big guy. He is used to playing in the cold from college. So,
Pierce, talk to me about your player prop.
Baker Mayfield over 190 passing yards. Sean McVay took Jared Goff, a guy that was a bust, and they went to the Super Bowl. Matt Stafford played in a couple playoff games, lost those playoff games, comes to Sean McVay, they win a Super Bowl. Why can't McVay resurrect Baker Mayfield's career? Baker Mayfield has shown glimmers of the superstar that he could be when he has been healthy and when he has had blocking and been surrounded by decent receivers. Now, he may not be surrounded by decent receivers or blocking, but 190 yards isn't that much. The bugaboo for him has just been turnovers, and we can live with those if we're just chasing this over total. Will he take big shots down the field? Absolutely. Will he fire all over the place? Yeah, his QB rating might be 50, but 100. I don't. He may not get the ball in the end zone, but I don't think there's going to be any problem with him piling up yards.
All right, Pierce. Let's wrap up the segment here with a game bet. So currently on the DK Sportsbook, Packers 7.5-point favorites. They're at home. Total 39.5. What do you like here, dude?
Man, I love the Rams at plus 7.5. I don't know why all of a sudden we're just imagining that the Packers are a good team. What have they shown us to show that they are 7.5-point favorites? I haven't seen it. And if you look at the Rams side, even if the Packers are in control of this game, which I don't think is going to happen, but the odds makers seem to think that's going to be the case with the 7.5 favorite. The Rams offense is filled with players that absolutely have to prove themselves. Their receivers, their running backs, their linemen, their quarterback, all of them have to play 4 full quarters and are desperate to put stats on the board. So even if the Packers are in control of this game late and are kind of dialing it down and going into prevent, the Rams are going to continue to be throttling it up because all these guys are trying to get positions next season. So give me the 7.5. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, Jeff, I think Pierce is onto something because Green Bay enters this game. They've been unable to cover in 7 of their last 10. They're 1-4 ATS in their last 5 at home.
Is Pierce onto something or is he on something? I mean, I don't
well,
know.
Both can be
you know
true.
What? I'm gonna roll with Pierce on this one. These two teams are a combined 9-15-2 ATS for the season. They both have losing records. Well, to the losing side of being instead of covering, obviously. So, I'm not gonna take Green Bay to cover 7.5 points against anyone. I mean, this team has been completely untrustworthy this year. Their secondary has been allowing big plays, and for all the hoopla over that I'm making about Christian Watson. The Rams have Tutu Atwell. They've got Van Jefferson, as we saw last game, capable of some downfield plays. Yeah, I think there will be some plays to be had for the Rams offense as well. So, again, I mean, Green Bay getting 7.5 points at this point in the season. Why? They don't deserve this at all. If anything, this game should be like 3.5, 4. Look, it's Green Bay. It's freezing. Like, anything can happen. There's a lot of variables here, but you got to take the points with the Rams. That's certainly what I would do as well.
All right, good stuff, guys. Appreciate it. Good talk.
Great job.
NFL is over. You two, go ahead and take off. We got NBA building blocks coming up next. And will we be building bucks? Giannis and Middleton sat on Saturday, so will Giannis be an option for you in DFS? Stay tuned to find out. You are looking at the top-priced DFS plays for Monday night. Giannis, 12-3. He is the second most expensive dude on the slate. Is he going to be in your lineup? I don't know. I'm talking to DraftKings contributor Jeff Pratt and DK Nation's Chinmay Vaidya. They're going to tell us what the deal is. You got a 9-game NBA slate. So actually, let's start with value. Giannis is clearly not the value here. Jeff, who are you going to build around for value?
I'm going to be rolling with a Milwaukee Buck. It will not be Giannis. And it feels like when we talk about Milwaukee, there are so many big names that garner attention. You've got Giannis, who's putting up MVP level numbers this season. Chris Middleton has looked great in his return to action. Drew Holiday is as solid as ever. And then beneath those guys, you have strong role players. Brook Lopez, Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Bobby Portis, extremely versatile. And then hidden beneath those guys on the depth chart is Grayson Allen, who has just been extremely solid in his role for Milwaukee. He's a really consistent producer, 10 points per game, shoots it really well. He scored 24 plus fantasy points in 4 of his last 6 games. Tonight he gets the Pelicans. They have not been playing great basketball lately. This is a good spot for Grayson Allen to stay hot, and Chris Middleton is out, so he should see an expanded role.
All right, Chinmay, what do you think? If you're looking at this slate, who is the value you can build around?
I'm going with Hawks forward DeAndre Hunter. Comes in at around 5K, 5,200, I believe was the last time I checked. Averaging around 23 DK fantasy points per game, but he scored 38 last time against the Magic, and that's who the Hawks are playing tonight. Magic coming off a game Sunday, might be a little high after getting a win over the Celtics, but Hunter has been extremely consistent, gets good shots, good minutes on the wing, and we don't know if DeJounte Murray and John Collins are coming back, but if even one of those guys sits, I think Hunter gains some additional value there. So I'm going with the young Hawks forward as my value play tonight.
All right, so Chinmay, when I say the guard to build around, who's the guard to build around? Your answer is who and what and why and where?
I think there's some good options here that are not quite at the high-end level of Luka Doncic, but you can still give you some good points. I'm going with De'Aaron Fox, plays in a high-paced Kings offense. They've been really good this season offensively, averaging around 40 DraftKings fantasy points. He had 2 massive showings recently, though, in his return back from a foot issue that has been nagging him the last week or so. And he's going up against a really bad Charlotte Hornets defense that is coming off a game last night where they just got dominated by Nikola Jokic. So give me Fox in this one, not quite paying up to the high-end level, but still going to give you really solid production at about 8,300.
Okay, Mr. Pratt, the guard you plan on building around tonight.
So after getting killed by fans and media last year, it really feels like Russell Westbrook is on a redemption tour this season. He's playing pretty good basketball as of late. I mean, last time I checked, he was the 6th man of the year favorite on DraftKings Sportsbook, and he is that for a reason. You know, with Anthony Davis out for a while, now with that foot injury, he will receive more opportunities to extend his lead or regain it. I'm not exactly sure what the odds are right now, but he was the favorite last time I checked. Russ has been on fire lately. You know, he scored 53 plus fantasy points 3 times in his last 5 games. His usage has taken a significant bump as well, surpassing 28% 6 times in his last 7. With 80 out, I would expect it to hang around 30%, maybe even jump up to 35% a couple times in the foreseeable future. People are going to harp on the lowlights with Russ, right? It's understandable. He's due for at least 1 3 off the side of the backboard or a layup that misses the rim entirely once a game. But who in the league right now gives you 15, 8, and 6 off the bench besides him?
Currently? No one. You're right. Currently plus 130. You're exactly right. Plus 130, the favorite to win 6th man of the year on the DK Sportsbook. Next closest player, Jordan Poole, plus 300. So Jeff
exactly, because he's doing things off the bench that no one else is doing from a versatility standpoint. I think there's potential for a very strong return on investment tonight. Chinmay was talking about players who aren't necessarily in that elite, high-tier, expensive range. Russ is one of them. He's only 7,300. So they are coming off the second night of a back-to-back, but he should be due for a big night.
Yep, indubitably. Indubitably.
All right, Jeff, how about your favorite forward to build around on this slate?
I've been hating on the Mavericks quite a bit this year, and I think all of that hate is warranted. There's no reason this team should be 500 30 games into the season. That being said, I do love one of their players tonight, and it's Christian Wood, just under 8K. I mean, he's been fantastic lately, scoring 52 plus fantasy points in back-to-back games. And people are going to point to Luka Doncic being out last game and say that's the reason for his expanded role. But that's not really the case. Now, were the Mavs looking to Wood for more offense with Luka out? Yes. But his expanded role is due to Maxi Kleber getting hurt. And with Kleber out for a significant time, Wood is going to continue seeing 30 to 35 minutes per game. Dallas faces Minnesota tonight. And despite having Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns, the Timberwolves actually ranked 24th in fantasy points allowed to big men. So I'd roster Wood with or without Luka back in the lineup tonight.
All right, Chinmay, favorite forward to build your lineup around?
I like to call on Christian Wood. Timberwolves obviously don't have Cat, and Gobert might not play. He sat yesterday's game and still dealing with an ankle injury. I'm going with Cavaliers forward Evan Mobley. I'm kind of surprised that he's just under 7K still. He's had 6 straight games of at least 30 fantasy points. 2 of those games, he had 40 fantasy points or more, averaging 34.6 DraftKings fantasy points on the season. And he gets a soft matchup with the Jazz. So I really like Mobley here to have a big game as the Cavs continue to fly a little bit under the radar this season as one of the better teams in the East.
All right, Chinmay. I want to get big. I want to get beefy here. So give me a center to build around.
Going all the way up on this one in terms of price point, Joel Embiid
Hell yeah.
is 11.5K, but he has been an absolute monster. In the last 3 games, he's had 3 games of at least 60 or more fantasy points over the last 6. I believe one of those games was 70 or more points. The Raptors are on a back-to-back. This is a bad matchup for Toronto. Embiid is playing at another level right now. The Sixers are getting healthier as well. So, the defensive attention has gone a little bit off Embiid towards Harden, Tobias Harris, some of these other peripheral shooters. I think the big man continues to have a dominant stretch here. Give me Embiid, even though the price point is really high.
Yeah. Jeff, you brave enough to spend all that money at center?
I am. I'll second that. I think Chinmay hit the nail on the head there. I think Joel Embiid, out of the 3 players on today's slate who will give you guaranteed fantasy points, you've got Luka, Giannis, and Embiid. Embiid is the cheapest, and he's actually my favorite as well. I think people like to make a huge deal about Luka's insane usage rate this season, but Embiid's is actually higher. It's at 37.3% on the season. That's only second behind Giannis. I mean, he's just been absolutely unstoppable as of late. If you look up a picture or you look up the definition of unstoppable in the dictionary, there might just be a picture of Joel Embiid with how he's been playing lately. Chinmay alluded to that. No one on the Raptors is capable of defending him. He's just going to go crazy again tonight.
All right, really quick, Jeff, best bet to build your bankroll around?
I'm going with the Orlando Magic, who I guess are the hottest team in basketball right now. Ooh. Despite being the 13th seed in the East, they've won 6 straight, including back-to-back wins over the Celtics and the Raptors. They're facing the Hawks tonight. I think there's a chance they win this game outright, but I'll take the added security that comes with +7.
Chinmay.
Jeff dismissing the New York Knicks, who are on a 7-game
You're
win
right.
streak, is kind of tough. But the Magic have been playing really well. I'm going with a player prop here. Jeff mentioned this guy off the top, Brook Lopez. He had 18 points in his last game, but the 4 games before that, he was not scoring. So I'm going Brook Lopez under 11.5 points tonight. Comes in at +100. I think with Giannis coming back in, I think Lopez drops off a little bit in terms of getting points.
All right, Chinmay, before you skedaddle, if there's such thing as a perfect game, I think we saw it yesterday in this World Cup final. Argentina knocking off France in penalty kicks, a match so flawless, so exceptional, so tense, so exhilarating that it'll resonate in the minds of millions for decades and decades, maybe centuries. How would you describe what we witnessed yesterday in that match?
Storybook ending for Lionel Messi. I don't think you could have written it any better. And the future of the sport as well is in great hands. We saw Kylian Mbappe single-handedly bring France back from, the depths of whatever, godforsaken place you want to put in there. They were completely lost until about the 80th minute. And I think, there were several allusions to the first 75 minutes or so was kind of bland. Argentina looked like they were going to cruise to a victory. And then The next hour might have been the greatest single hour of sports that we have ever seen. Leads going back and forth, crazy plays all around. Emi Martinez had a fantastic save at the end of extra time that could have, we might not have even gone to penalties had he not made that save. So a tremendous contest, great storylines all around. You couldn't have written it any better. Sometimes you try to just avoid all the storylines and let everything play out, and it works out just well, and it did in that final. Might have been the greatest final ever, might have been the greatest game ever.
Pretty hysterical for Messi to knock France out of the final and then go back to PSG. He's like, ooh,
just creeping on back in.
And I'm back after just knocking France out of the World Cup final. All right, that's all the time we have. We have a college football preview, though.
Yeah, this is
preview.
This is part 2. We did 3 parts with Chinmay and with Jules and with Colin. So this one we're going to be talking games between, I believe, today through Thursday. This is hot, real hot. Let's continue our bowl season preview now with some Tuesday Maction. And then we got a few days here that are absolutely jam-packed with games leading up to Christmas. So give me a bet from one of those games that you like during the week here, Colin.
I really like Louisiana getting 6.5 in the Independence Bowl. I think that this Houston team is just so completely checked out. This is possibly the most poorly coached team in the country. I don't think I've seen a more undisciplined group anywhere in America. And I just don't think that Shreveport, Louisiana is where they really want to be spending the holidays. This team could commit 200 yards in penalties. They could turn the ball over 7 times. Anything is really on the table here with Dan Holgerson in a town with casinos. So yeah, give me Louisiana here. And this is a ULL team that has played much better as the season has gone along. So yeah, give me ULL and whatever it is, I think they can win this game outright as well. So this is a money line play for me.
All right, what's the play here, Chinmay?
I'm going with some action. Give me Toledo in the Boca Raton Bowl against Liberty. Liberty going through coaching change right now. There's going to be some shuffling. We don't know who's going to play. The Rockets did the thing in the MAC championship game. They got the job done. A former True Sun, Gary Pinkel, used to coach there. So I'm always going with Toledo as a tribute to the old man, Gary Pinkel, who used to coach there. Give me the Rockets in this one. Boca Raton is a fun place this time of year.
Yeah, it certainly is. Very nice weather. Jules, what's the game you're looking at?
Yeah, I like both plays from the guys there. This is probably the stretch that I don't love as much in the whole bowl season. I think it starts off strong on Saturday, goes on a little bit of a lull, and then we get some stronger games. I don't hate this shrinking number, and I'll go against steam a little bit with Baylor, who doesn't have many opt-outs. Thought that they got a little bit slighted in terms of their bowl assignment going against Air Force on Thursday night, December 22nd. I think that Air Force might be in a little over their heads in this game, and if this number keeps shrinking, I have no play yet on any of these games in that time span that we mentioned, but Baylor, if the number keeps shrinking, I may go against steam and take the Bears.
All right, so with only one alma mater of our panelists here in a bowl game, the Missouri Tigers, there he goes. The Missouri Tigers get preferential treatment today. Chinmay, Tigers very slight dogs to Wake Forest, so I'm assuming this is an easy pick for you.
It's an easy pick at the moment. The question is whether Sam Hartman plays or not. And that's been sort of the topic leading up to this game for Wake Forest. But from the Mizzou side, I can say, look, the players, they wanted to be home for Christmas. They wanted to be home for the New Year's holidays. So they got their wish. And that was the whole deal with, the Liberty Bowl playing Kansas. Mizzou didn't want to play Kansas. And that whole spiel got out there. But the players want to play in this game, and they got their wish in terms of scheduling. Mizzou has looked good down the stretch. Brady Cook has been playing well. Lovett is not going to be there, so that's a big miss on the receiver front. But this Mizzou defense should hold up, and if Sam Hartman doesn't play, then I think it's a really easy bet for me for taking the Tigers. If Hartman does play, the line might move a little bit more, and I'll still take Mizzou.
All right, Jules, what's the move, babe?
This game's all about Hartman. I have one note on this game. If Hartman doesn't play, Mizzou. So I know that Chinmay's a little more optimistic. He wants to back his school regardless and maybe get more points if he's in there, and that's fine. But yeah, it's Mizzou if Hartman's out, and that's essentially all I'm looking at for this game, waiting for that news.
Colin, anything else you'd like to add here?
As a former committee member of this game,
wow.
I was a member of the Gasparilla Bowl committee for several years.
Dang, man.
I'm not even being humble. I mean, that's the thing.
Wait, no, he's just flexing here. Weird flex, pal, but okay.
And then I started working for a gambling company. They're like, maybe you should take a step back from your role here. And I was like, yeah, probably makes sense. Okay, so I'm with you. Yeah, I mean, it's down to Sam Hartman. You tell me if Sam Hartman plays, I'll knock on his hotel door the night before the game, and I will see if he's interested in playing. And if he is going to go, I will bet on Wake Forest, and if not, I will bet on Mizzou. Despite the opt-outs, this is pretty equal on talent. Mizzou actually does have some SEC players. Sometimes I think we forget that Mizzou is actually an SEC team. So on neutral fields, they do tend to do very well in games like this. But yeah, it's all down to Sam Hartman. This is a one-note game.
All right, juicy Power 5 matchups here the following week, gentlemen. Let's start in the Holiday Bowl because 'tis the season, right? And it's been one of what could have been down the stretch as UNC lost 3 straight to wrap up the season. Then Oregon missing out on the Pac-12 championship following a loss to rival Oregon State. So the Ducks, 2-touchdown favorites here. What's the play, Colin?
This is just wild. I think this game is just all about who's going to play and who's not going to play. 13.5 just seems like a really big number. I don't, I think of all of the games on the board, I really don't see one here that really jumps out at me. Is Bo Nix going to go? If he goes, is he healthy? What is Oregon trying to do here to try and get ready for next season? This was a young team across the board. But do they want to get more beat up? And then, of course, the Drake May factor. Gun to my head, 13.5's a lot. I'll take the dog, but I don't love it. This for me, I don't think we have enough information right now to make a really good bet on this game. As it gets closer, I think we'll be able to do a little bit more. But yeah, give me UNC on the points, I guess.
Okay, awesome. Jules?
All right, I have no opinion on that game, but fortunately the script says that we're allowed to use games from Thursday, which is exactly what I'm going to do.
Hell yeah, brother.
FSU's sitting
there we go.
Yep, FSU's sitting at 7.5. I would love to get this back down at 7 or better. FSU's going to win this game against a bad Oklahoma team. If you're making a 2-team money line parlay, FSU is a leg, and Washington is going to beat Texas on Thursday night, December 29th as well. I took him at 3.5, then I took him at 6, and I took some money line. As we record, it's 4. It probably keeps moving all over the place. Washington with the points and Washington money line against Texas. They're getting their quarterback back, unexpected, maybe return for next year, and that's probably going to have a lot of guys rallying around that and playing in this game, whereas Texas maybe not as much motivation.
I mean, that's why producer Drew puts those notes on the rundown. Yeah, I'm glad you do it. Like, he doesn't want to force you to talk about a game you don't necessarily want to talk about.
I rarely read, but in this case, I read, and it helped me out.
Dude, reading is fun.
Well, Emerson, you threw that to me, and you asked me about the specific game, so I didn't go off. But yes, I have Julian's NCAA tournament ticket.
Great.
Bet on Florida State. That's the easiest game on this board by a mile.
Yeah, I mean, you could get a quick answer on the game I'm asking about, or say, hey, listen, I don't care about that game. I want to go to this game. Then great. Then I'm totally down for it. Take this in whatever direction you want. We're listening to you guys. Chinmay, what do you want? You want to talk about this game or another game?
How about I talk about both games?
Hell yeah, brother.
Split them up. Sark coming back and playing Washington, that's a big revenge game, low-key revenge game for the Huskies there. That exit was quite messy, and the way Sark left at Washington, I think some of those guys who are not playing, obviously, but in the administration, some of the staffers there, they're definitely going to want to motivate these guys to go out there and beat Sark. And then you don't really need motivation to go out and play hard against Texas. Most college kids want to go out there and beat Texas. So I think Washington is a great play there. As far as the Holiday Bowl goes, yeah, I agree with Colin that 13.5 is just too much. It's just too big of a line. Oregon looked really good in the middle of the season and then slipped up down the stretch. Dillingham is out as the offensive coordinator. He's down at Arizona State now. We don't know what their offense is going to look like. Is Bo Nix going to play? And Mac Brown gets his team to play hard, regardless of who's out there. North Carolina is going to want to, come out and kind of right the ship after losing 3 in a row down the stretch. I think the Tar Heels at 13.5 is the play there. It's just too big of a number.
All right, on the flip side of North Carolina, and I'm talking literally, that would be South Carolina.
Geography, man.
Dude, well, we found out that you like to read and I like geography. So, South Carolina wrapping up the season with back-to-back top 10 upsets now. And we'll face Notre Dame in the Gator Bowl. So that's in America City. That's in Jacksonville, Florida. 2.5-point underdog what South Carolina will be. What do you like here in this game? This is the home of the Trailer Park Boys, the Jaguars, the stadium.
Yeah, big game for you. I think that South Carolina closes as a favorite here, probably. I don't know how they haven't gotten there with the news that we have. So Drew Pine started 10 games at quarterback. He's out for Notre Dame. The backup quarterback, the other quarterback we saw at times, he's out with an injury. Michael Mayer opted out for the NFL. Most important offensive weapon, regardless of who's at quarterback. Isaiah Foskey, the all-time sacks leader, opts out. Their best players on both sides of the ball are out, and they don't have a quarterback, and they're going against a South Carolina team that's going to play their guys and just beat Clemson and Tennessee. What am I missing? Why is this so easy that I'm getting plus money on the money line with South Carolina? Just bet it.
Colin, talk about this game or another game from Thursday or Friday, just not Tennessee-Clemson, because that's the next question.
Thank you for laying out the script for Colin.
I want to completely everything that Julian just said. You lose two quarterbacks and you lose possibly the most impactful tight end of this decade in college football, and you're still laying points to a South Carolina team. Talk about teams that improved as the season has gone along. Shane Beamer has that team playing really, really well down the stretch. I don't know if anybody noticed when South Carolina won their last 3 games, it looked really good doing it. So this is a layup. Like, this isn't just easy. This is a layup. Like, I would even don't parlay, but if you're going to parlay, there's a couple of dogs on this board here where you could tie them together, and I really like it to just like buy a house. This is house money right here. Love this game. One of my favorites on the board. This will be one of my top 3 picks of all bowl season. It's South Carolina all the way.
I mean, it feels like the Gamecocks are in rare form here, Chinmay.
Yeah, but when Colin tells you that this is house money,
scary.
All of a sudden, I'm a little cautious now.
Yeah.
And I got to think about maybe fading Colin a little bit. But no, there's just too many opt-outs on Notre Dame's side. Michael Mayer going out is a big one, obviously. That's sort of the one that really hinged on it for me on this bet, was whether Mayer was going to play or not. Even with the quarterback situation, you lose a weapon like that, that just completely takes your offense out of the equation. I do like South Carolina in this one. I'll take them as the money line dog. That's really easy. I dabble in some geography myself, Emerson. I've never once heard Jacksonville referred to as America's city. So,
yeah, you haven't. You didn't pay enough.
Check you on that one.
Yeah, you didn't pay enough attention in class.
We're gonna need to compare some notes.
Okay, all right. Maybe you should go back to Mizzou and go back to school then. Okay, pal. Anywho,
did anyone watch The Good Place? Like, come on, nobody's from Jacksonville. Like, come on, what are we doing here?
Right here, dude.
The one guy from Jacksonville.
The Trailer Park, bro. Let's go.
You are an A-lister in Jacksonville, my friend. That's all I got.
Very, very weak A-lister for sure. Colin, 2 teams that South Carolina beat. You've already mentioned it. Clemson, Tennessee. They're in the Orange Bowl without Hendon Hooker, who I believe was like your preseason Heisman guy, but we all know he got injured. It's all good. Tigers nearly a touchdown favorite. So who do you have here?
I'm going to actually go to this game, and I'm going to be rooting for punters because I got the under, baby. 63.5 is way too much. DJ Uiagalelei is out. Hendon Hooker is out. These teams are just trying not to get hurt out here. This is going to be one. Yes, it's going to be competitive. There's going to be a lot of orange in the stands. This isn't the Orange Bowl. This is the Orange-Yes Bowl when you have Tennessee and Clemson playing in the Orange Bowl. Like, it's going to be nuts. But, yeah, this is going to be teams are going to be punting the ball back and forth. I don't know how this is 63.5. I don't know how this number hasn't moved. I think it closes like under 57, like somewhere in that range, 56.5 maybe. There's way too many points. Just take the under.
Jimmy, you were nodding your head in agreement?
Yeah, just too many points here for 2 teams that are not going to be having their quarterbacks. And I know, DJ has not been great this season, so I don't really know that he makes a difference. But Hendon Hooker being out, that completely changes Tennessee's equation. The Vols are really nothing there. Without Hooker, Jalen Hyatt is also going to be out for this one. He's already heading to the NFL draft. I just don't know that Tennessee has the juice offensively to, keep this a high-scoring game, if it even was one to begin with. Clemson has not really looked great offensively all season. I wouldn't trust them to put up points in this one. So I don't know if there's going to be too many punts, but I don't think there's going to be that much scoring. I see a game in the 50s here at best. Give me the under on that one.
Jules, who do you think has the edge here? Because who's the backup quarterback? So Joe Milton there for Tennessee. Like, you feel like he's going to walk into this game wanting to prove that he has the potential to fill in Hooker's shoes.
He can want to walk into the game to prove anything, but he's going to be without Jalen Hyatt, his top wide receiver that opted out, without Cedric Tillman, his top wide receiver that opted out. there's not going to be many pass catchers for Tennessee. So I agree with the guys in fading the Tennessee offense, but I'm going to do it by backing Clemson in the game. I think Clemson, even with the opt-outs, is going to have enough on defense to limit Tennessee. And the quarterback opt-out for Clemson is just an upgrade. Klubnik is the number one quarterback recruit in the country as a freshman that somehow played behind DJ all year. He comes in, I know it's the UNC defense, but looks great against UNC, looked great at times in the regular season other than the road atmosphere at Notre Dame. Tough spot to put him in a huge hole. I think he's going to come in and be just fine on offense, and I agree with the move here. I think that Clemson is going to win this one by a touchdown or more. And if you're looking for a team to put that money line parlay with an FSU, like this is your 2 6.5-point favorites that you can bring right down and get standard juice on. So I'm Clemson side on this one.
All right, we need our best DFS and Sportsbook plays for today's 8-game NHL slate. And here to give it to us, RotoWire's Paul Bruno. Paul, we're rolling through this. Who is your top center?
Well, you got to look at Connor McDavid for $9,600. He's got a pretty good matchup against Nashville, but if you're into getting two guys at the center position for the price of one, I would go with two cheaper number ones, and that's Rupe Hintz from Dallas, $6,500 against Columbus, and Nick Suzuki, Montreal's top center, $5,900 against Arizona. Two top-flight pivots against lesser opposition make more sense to me even than one Connor McDavid tonight.
All right, what's the move at wing here, Paul?
Well, you look at the guy that's playing with the Boston Bruins big boys, that's Jake DeBrusk, $6,300. His price tag is climbing a little bit, but still well worth the investment tonight against Florida. It's going to be a high-scoring game, and at home, the Bruins big line will get the best matchups for him and their big boys. I like that a lot. And then I like Philip Forsberg for $6,200 against Edmonton. This is going to be a shootout. It's a rematch from last week as well when the Oilers won 6-3. I think back in their home rink again, trying to get revenge for that debacle, I think will be front and center in Nashville's motivation, and the big line will have a big reason to play well, and that means points for Forsberg tonight. And I also like Jordan Kyrou, $6,400 against Vancouver. This guy's got 10 points his last 8 games, and Vancouver's leaking goals lately.
All right, take us to the blue line, Paul. Which defenseman do you like to anchor your lineup here?
Jesse, I'll give you a high-range pick and then a mid-range pick. I like John Carlson for $6,700 against Detroit. The Wings have given up 19 goals in their last 5 games, all losses, and he'll play over 22 minutes tonight. You can count on his good shot volume to be a factor this evening. In the mid-range, I like Tyson Barrie, who's reclaimed his power play quarterback spot for the Oilers. He's got 10 assists in his last 6 starts, and I think it's going to, like I said, be a high-scoring game against Nashville tonight.
All righty, best value play in DFS, Paul.
I like a couple of guys that are in good spots between surrounded by high-octane players in both cases. Josh Anderson has been moved up to the top line for Montreal and gets to play with their big boys for $3,700 in a matchup against Arizona. And then Ryan Johansson is center for Nashville between Forsberg and Duchesne against Edmonton. That's for $3,500. So less than $4,000 for two guys in frontline roles. I'll take it every time.
All right, how about your best game bet on the DK Sportsbook?
Jesse, the Sabres have swept the first 3 games of a Western road swing, outscoring the opposition 15-4 along the way. Tonight, they get an injury-riddled Vegas team, and they'll continue their winning ways in Las Vegas. Take Buffalo on the money line at plus 155. Colorado's another team that's having a lot of injury concerns, missing 2/3 of their top line on offense, and that's really sputtering attack, only averaging 2 goals per game over the last 8 games. The last thing they need is a visit from a heavy-hitting Islanders club that enjoys the close checking. I say take the visitors plus 140 on the money line in the Mile High City.
All right, bring us home with this player prop you like on the DK Sportsbook, Paul.
Tonight's the night Ovechkin will catch Gordie Howe.
Yeah.
Second all-time in goals scored against Detroit as part of a multi-point effort. That's going to pay at plus 175 once he gets his second point of the night. And I'll double down on my pick in Colorado, taking the Islanders to win a low-scoring game. So do the parlay. Take the Islanders and the under 5.5 total for a 330 payoff.
The Great 8 will reign supreme.
Woo! And that is the show. Thank you very much, Paul, for wrapping it up.
Later,
we got Madden coming your way today, the slate tonight at 5 p.m. Eastern, and we will be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you then.